I watched that unfold. And I really think, and this is what I'm giving to this conversation of why race matters, is because we are the advocates of change.
Mhm.
The four of us, anyone who wants to leave a legacy, we can make a difference by how we choose to deal with our colleagues when they say something, or deal with our children when they come in that are different. How we address these situations is what's going to leave a difference in this world. And race, being biracial, for me, has transformed into what I was born in, the family or whatever, having a light skinned father and a light skinned mom, and then what I lived my life in a society that made me choose.
Um,
Pedagogy. Yeah. Go
it's
ahead.
you know what? It's a French word. I have no clue how to pronounce it in English. It's pedagogy. I
Right,
have
that
no
sounds
idea.
great.
And he stressed the importance that as teachers, educators, we have to be, in order to be culturally responsive, we have to be able to understand all points of views of the students in the classroom, understand the pains, celebrate the wins, but that it's important that the students know and feel that they are understood on a certain point. It doesn't have to be, I think, this is just my opinion, it doesn't have to be acceptance. It doesn't have to be our way of life, but in the classroom, because we are talking about gender identity now, and I think it is part of being culturally responsible and the responsiveness that we have to find a way to be understanding and accepting within the classroom.
And I also think, like, for our assignment last week, how we had to do
Cultural pie.
yeah, when we had to like choose to do that test, which I thought was super interesting. But like it showed that people tend to lean towards people that look like them. And I think that that's kind of something that we're like the grouping of people within the same race. Like you feel comfortable with people that look like you. You feel like you could be yourself around. And maybe I'm speaking too generalized, but I think that a lot of people, if I walked into a room and I saw a group of white people and a group of black people, I would probably be more comfortable talking to the group of white people.
And that is what I think leads to this conversation about race in schools, because most of the teachers, stats wise, are white.
Which
and then our student population, even across Florida, which is more diverse in other states, is not.
Right. But after I moved from New Jersey down to Maryland, it was like a mind blown for me. Like I could not believe the diversity and the acceptance of living down there. Like walking into the bar and seeing like an Asian person dating a black person and nobody looked twice. Or like, like white people dating other, black people or Asian people or, Indian people, and people are just loving everyone. You walk down the street and you're not being called a name for holding hands with someone that doesn't look like you. Like it was just wild to me because that's not how I grew up. I graduated high school with two black people, and I literally.
Well, I want to take a moment and introduce myself because I think I'll probably come from a totally different point of view. I want to add into the conversation, and that is age. I'm a little bit older, and so when I was thinking about this whole conversation about race, I think about when I was in my teens, in 1958, uh, um, growing up. I know the situations that have happened that have really shaped and framed the way that I see white people, and how I had the decision to make at some point in my life as I grew older whether I was going to aspire to be like white people because I look white. People confuse me with white, or I was going to live what I grew up in my heritage or the culture of my family.
Was that hard for
And
you?
Oh, definitely, because Black people didn't like me because I look white, and then white people didn't like me because I leaned toward the Black advocacy. And as a person, I didn't know what identity I was. As I got into my 20s and I had to define myself, I recognized that I am the identity I choose to be.
Right.
I had to really explore that. And I think to bring it back to what we're talking about, race, I think that's what happened, in my opinion, what happened in my era up to this point, because we're dealing with millennials who have a whole different view
Yeah.
of what race is. I mean,